Wrexham are promoted. They have their storybook ending.
You can walk through the fire. You can walk through the fire. When it's down to the wire. You can walk through the fire.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Wrexham Texan. My name is Jake Green. Thank y'all so much for joining me today for this episode review of Temporary, Season 3, Episode 5 of Welcome to Wrexham. As you can see, I'm in a different spot. I'm in a studio. I think I've shot here before. I'm in a studio in Nashville. My buddy owns a music studio, and we're about to go on a little road trip together. So I met him here yesterday, and we're going to go sit on a lake for the next 4 days. I don't get very many vacations, so this is going to be delightful. You can also tell I've chopped off my beard. Still have a beard. It's just a little bit shorter. I actually am not allowed to fully shave my face. If I ever shave my face, I made a bet with a buddy that I never would because I look stupid with a shaved face. And I bet my buddy I would never shave again 10 years ago. And if I do, he gets to pick the time and place where I go streaking. So, I can't let that happen, especially now that I'm married. I can't risk jail time just to shave my beard. Plus, I just look so dumb. I just look so dumb with a shaved face. So there you go. It's going to be a little shorter episode just because I'm in a different spot. We're on time crunch. Actually, yeah, we are on a time crunch. This episode really, really tried to make you cry. I mean, they pulled out all the stops for that. First of all, we start with Arthur Massey, who is 99 years old in the episode. Had his 100th year old game this season, and has been watching Wrexham, he said, since he was 7 years old in 1931. That is wild. He said there were no stands at the game, only the turf pub. But his, it was interesting. Just the idea of him being alive for more than half of the club's life is wild, considering how old the club is. That's incredible. And so that was super interesting to think about how many little things he's seen over the last 93 years of being a Wrexham supporter. He's seen it all. He's like almost a walking history of Wrexham football. Pretty dang neat. I bet you could make a full documentary just on that guy, talking about Wrexham, talking about his life. Man, very impressive. And we'll get to that a little bit later on. We then cut to Okonkwo, who's, being fitted for his mask. They're saying Okonkwo could have been, he wasn't being fitted for the mask yet. That was later on. But he's saying he lost 9 pounds because he can only eat soups and smoothies, which sucks. They also explain more of the January transfer window, which I didn't know they could be recalled in the January transfer window alone. So that was news to me. Very good to know for future reference, but not. It makes the loaned players even more tentative and nerve-wracking to have than they would have otherwise. Because I just thought that they could be called back at the end of the season when the loan is up. But I guess mid-season, that's crazy. There's so much risk involved in that, especially if they're playing super well. Yeah, you want them to play well for you, but then if they're playing too well, they get recalled. That's a tight line to walk, tight rope to walk. We then cut to the Colchester game. We're in second place. Everything's going well. And to be honest, everything went well for the rest of the season as far as the first team is concerned. Because I don't think we dropped out of, I think we may have gone down to 4th place once. But other than that, we were in 3rd place the rest of the season, third and second the rest of the season. And it just wasn't that much of a struggle. We even went through a really difficult period where we still stayed up there. So whatever. We're awesome. The Colchester game, Lee gets a goal. Then Evans gets a straight red card. I remember that. It was wild. And then it was in the first half. And so we had to play so long with 10 men. Only up 2-0. And then Mark Howard didn't let one in, but one got past him off a bad rebound. So it was 2-1. And we made it through the 7 minutes of injury time. 7 minutes of injury time. That game in order to keep that victory, which was a tough victory. There was a lot of nerves with that game. I remember it. They start talking about the cop and the stands and the tickets and how they used to be able to walk up day of the game, get your ticket, and basically go sit anywhere you want in the stadium. That's clearly not like that anymore. You have to be a member to get tickets. It's a whole thing. Like I'm going to try to go to a game next season. I can't imagine what it's going to be like to try to get tickets for me, my wife, and if my brother and dad come along. Whoo! It's going to be tough. So, they talk about that for a while. Then they talk about the cop. The new cop was not approved for the loan or the grant or whatever it was from the government, which, shocker, stop trying to get money from the government for football stadiums. That drives me nuts. We do that here. Taxpayers paid for so many American football stadiums around the country, and that's so stupid. It should be on the owners to go get a private loan through a company or a bank or private citizen or whatever, not put it on the taxpayers. Man, politics are getting into this. Sorry. Let's see. They got a smaller loan for a stand, temporary stand, and Humphrey is trying to show Ryan the blueprints while Ryan is FaceTiming them. And he looks ridiculous. He's holding up this giant sheet of paper, trying to point things out. And, yeah. And then Ryan points out that was his dad trying to navigate in the car through the mountains. And then once again, we get into Rob hating British bureaucracy, which I completely get, Rob. It starts playing Hello Darkness, My Old Friend. Hilarious. If you ever watched season 4 of Arrested Development, you'll know why I think that's so dang funny. Ultimately the temporary stand gets approved, but it's not a moneymaker. They spent more on it last season than they made. So if the temporary stand is still up for this coming season, if they still haven't gotten a full funding for the cop, then they'll make their money back. So right off the bat, not so much, but if it goes 2 seasons, I think they'll make the money back on the $900 and something thousand cop. Goodness gracious. Then we get an interview with James Jones. We've heard from him one time in one episode, and it was earlier this season. And now he gets much of this episode dedicated to him. 19th of November, didn't see his family arrive in the stands, which always just makes you, for me, it always made me play a little worse. If I didn't see somebody in the stands who said they were going to be there. Seemed to have the opposite effect on him because he scored quickly, but then immediately got subbed off and was told by Parkey that there's something wrong with his wife and his dad's waiting for him outside, so go. And so he goes to the hospital to check on his pregnant wife, who's they have to have an emergency C-section. It was horrible. He said she was in intensive care with their son, who was also in intensive care, for months. And man, I can't imagine the stress of that. You're just playing every scenario in your brain, I guarantee you, going to some really dark places. Yeah, I bet that time for him was extremely difficult. Not to mention, time for Chloe was extremely difficult, and time for their son Jude was extremely difficult. But just the mental anguish of not knowing, of that, like, uncertainty of, like, finality. Like, you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person, and it could very well happen that they die in that bed. Oh, man, that is really tough. Yeah, months in intensive care, but happy ending. Both the kid and the wife survived and are now as happy as ever. Jude is like the cutest kid. Oh my gosh. And push him in the swing and carry him around. He's just so smiley. And yeah, Chloe seems like a great mother. She seems very attentive. Just an adorable family. And I love that they told this story. I bet that was very difficult for them to talk about and decide to put it on the dock. That's not an easy decision. Yeah, and during this whole time, they if you follow James on Instagram or, social media, or you follow the club, you would know beforehand that his son survived, and so did she. But if you don't follow anything that happens in the real world, and you just watch this documentary, they use a fun tactic, which is making it seem like it ends poorly. They were just videoing him, filming him by himself, doing a whole bunch of lonely, sad activities, putting up very nostalgic pictures of him and his family and his wife and everything, and really, really pushing that, it's possible she didn't make it. It's possible she didn't make it. Well, she did. And I mean, it makes sense. It just, when you know what happened, it feels manufactured. Because by the time they were editing this, they knew what happened. By the time they were editing this episode, Chloe was okay. And so was Jude. And so it's just a funny, yeah, editing is what tells the end story, especially in documentaries. So editors get tons of credit for all of these stories in Welcome to Wrexham. All right. Ryan invited Rob to the set of Deadpool. Awesome. It's going to be a cameo in the movie. Hopefully we see his face or hear his voice. I mean, he's got a very distinctive voice, so very interested to see what his cameo is. And he informs Ryan that the temporary cop has been built, and that, when it collapses, Humphrey will go to jail. So that's perfect. Then we get down to Newport County. Arthur Okonkwo cleared to play with a custom mask. Everyone loves the new cop. It feels like a proper stadium again. They start using, I've noticed this season, they start using that slow motion that they used for the first two seasons to indicate that a goal was about to happen or something huge was about to happen. They now use that as trickery. They build it up, and then the ball just goes wide. They've been doing that regularly this season, so that's a fun little device they're using now. Okonkwo had some amazing saves this game. Dalby nearly scored. Lee nearly scored. Then James Jones comes in and scores off a Tozer throw, which we're going to miss deeply. We ended up winning 2-0 versus Newport. Then we go on a whole Knots run, which Knots just plummeted this past season. They just tanked. Luke Williams left. Anytime there's a manager change, that's what's going to happen. Like, you can't come in and expect to stay exactly where you were and keep that energy up and keep the camaraderie and the meshing of the team together. There's always going to be a little dip, and there was a dip for a long time. They ended up mid-table, which is fine. Most people would be happy getting promoted to League Two and ending mid-table first season in League Two. So they'll be fine. They'll come up. But yeah, Luke Williams moved on to Swansea up in the Championship, which makes sense. He's a great coach. And it's way more money. It's more prestigious. Yeah, you can't blame him. I remember the circumstances around it were a little iffy. He had apparently been talking to them for a while and not told anybody. I don't know if that's true. That was just what I heard from Luke Middup. So, yeah, it was sad to see not stay down and us go up, because I liked that rivalry that we had going. Since 4 teams go up from League One or League Two, it would have been pretty cool if Knots was one of those as well. Let's see. Stockport goes on a run. Don't care. 12 in a row. Amazing. Don't care. And then we end with Arthur Massey. Rob goes and visits him at his house because Rob and Ryan couldn't be there that particular day of his 100th birthday. So Rob goes and visits him in his house a couple weeks early, and they decide to give him recognition on the pitch. And so they bring him out, and 100 seconds of a standing ovation. He gets a jersey with his name on it, with 100 on the back as the number. It was all extremely touching. They went back all through his life, from childhood to where he is now in pictures, playing the most tear-jerking song they could possibly find. It's emotional. Like, they pull out all the stops. I got super teary-eyed. It's something about reflecting on your own mortality, really, and kind of seeing it played out in front of you by somebody else is really impactful. I should have thought about this a little more before I started recording this, because I just watched it and then immediately started recording. It's confronting your own mortality is tough, and like seeing this with Arthur makes you want to change things or do things different or make sure you make the most out of everything. He seems like he's had a very happy, very wonderful life, and we should all be so lucky. That's just such a cool thing. So, it was a great episode. Thoroughly enjoyed it. They definitely wanted to pull on your heartstrings for this one. So, I would rate it. I gotta think of. I would rate it a B+. I think B+. I don't like the double episodes, y'all. I like the shorter episodes. Too many things happen in these, and then I end up not remembering them later on. I want the shorter episodes back. I want 16 weeks of 23-minute episodes, 30-minute episodes. I liked that way more than these longer 45, 50, minute episodes. That's not, I don't know, something not conducive to how like football works for me. I don't know what it is. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe I'll analyze that for next one. But that's it for the review. Huge news of the week. Arthur Okonkwo signs a 3-year contract. How about that? I really didn't think we were going to sign him. I had resigned myself to finding a new keeper and using Mark Howard, in the meantime. But holy crap, Okonkwo signed with us for 3 years. We are in such good shape to go up again, or at least be contenders. We're getting an incredible goalie for 3 years. And then, man, if we're up in the Championship League, he wouldn't leave. I think within that 3-year period, we'll be up in the Championship League. I'd be willing to bet money on that. So, Arthur Okonkwo might be our man, might be our goalie. He might go down as a massive reason why Wrexham made it back to the Premier League. That would be pretty dang cool. Yeah, that made me so happy. Couldn't be more ecstatic for Okonkwo, the rest of the team. Gonna be a great freaking season, y'all. Can't wait for the new season to start. Now that we have a goalie, and I'm looking forward to seeing who else we sign. So that'll do it for today, y'all. I gotta go. I gotta get in a car. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the Wrexham Texan.
Search my soul with all your heart. You're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. And if you knock my soul with all your strength, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it.